for kind of introducing us today. Just to give you guys a little bit of information, over here at XVerify, what we do is we specialize in real-time data verification, and our company is actually based out of Chicago, Illinois. So today we're actually having a nice sunny day, where yesterday we had a cloudy, rainy, stormy day all day, and the week before that it was pretty cold. So we're kind of looking.
That's Chicago for you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the nicer weather this summer. Just to give you, some more background on myself, I've actually been with the company since we launched it in 2011, and I've had a lot of first-hand experience with seeing fraud and taking the steps toward preventing it. Again, speaking with me today is Rob Huey, and he also helped build our system from the ground up.
Yeah, I've been in the affiliate marketing space since 2006. That's how I started in this industry, and then we came out to make our XVerify system. So I used to run media buying on on a few large volume campaigns. So I've also seen firsthand a lot of fraud that's come through my system before, and I've had to deal with the ramifications of that. So like I said, I've seen it all before. I had one weekend where I had one affiliate send me over 30,000 fraudulent leads. It started on a Friday night and went through Sunday, and that's usually when it happens. So again, I've seen it before. Chris has seen it before. So we want to talk to you guys today about what exactly it is, and maybe some steps to help you reduce the fraud that comes through your system.
So I'm going to go ahead and outline a couple of things that we're going to be covering today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what is affiliate fraud and how does it occur. Then we're going to cover some of the risks that are associated with media buying. In addition to that, we're going to really stress throughout this whole webinar about the importance of measuring and monitoring any incoming data to your website. We're also going to cover, some of the common problems with email marketing, and then we're going to talk more about compliance. We're going to kind of wrap all of these up and then kind of tell you how to overcome these obstacles so you can be more successful. So first off, what is affiliate fraud? Actually affiliate fraud can be classified in a number of ways. And just to give you guys a little example, affiliate fraud, is when an affiliate will send bogus leads or possibly incentivize traffic to shop and then actually encourage them to return goods within a return period. So that affiliate fraud actually has the ability to kind of cash out on their payment from that network. Or perhaps maybe when an affiliate is using stolen credit cards to place mass orders through your offer and then tries to collect on the payment before you realize the chargeback starts coming in, and then, before the consumers actually notice that these were fraudulent purchases, and they actually shut down their credit card and start sending you guys the chargebacks.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other tools that affiliates can use, including temporary email addresses. There's spam bots. There's malware. There's a whole bunch of different tools that these rogue affiliates can use. So not every affiliate is out there to generate fraudulent leads, but there are a fair number out there that do this for a living. So we want to make sure you guys know how to be protected.
A lot of those affiliate fraud that occurs, the way they actually obtain those stolen credit cards are through phishing scams. And this generally happens when a fraudster might spoof a major brand website that consumers are likely to do business with and trust, such as their own bank. And what happens is that the fraudster will send out an email that appears to be genuine and from that brand, asking the consumer for their login ID and password. And unfortunately, once that consumer actually forks that information over, the fraudster then has the advantage and is likely to gain access to their credit card numbers. And what you have to be careful for is then they can easily take this information and push it through your lead gen form, and then you guys are going to be at risk because, that's illegal transactions that are coming through and passing as qualified leads if you're not careful.
Yeah, and if you're actually selling a product online or you're charging the customer for a product or service, the last thing you want is chargebacks on your account. Chargebacks will get you in big trouble with your credit card processor, up to and including termination of your merchant account, and it can also end you up on blacklists so that you can't get any future merchant accounts. Those blacklists typically last for 5 to 7 years, and basically you won't be able to get another merchant account, and you lose your ability to sell your product online completely. So, everybody, at least that I've dealt with in the industry, knows the importance of measuring and monitoring, and that's really what it comes down to. So, if you're getting a lot of chargebacks from one source or one affiliate, that you need to take that seriously, and you need to look at that affiliate that's sending you that traffic.
Exactly. So always just kind of double check, what your leads are doing. And now what we're going to go into talking about is some media buying and lead generation risks. So think about the different ways that you're getting visitors over to your website or to your offer. Are you using SEO, PPC, CPA, display advertising, content marketing, email marketing? All of these have some sort of risk associated with them. So we're going to kind of take a closer look at each one of these individually and point out some of the problems. So first thing we're going to go ahead and talk about is SEO. So if you're ready to get, leads, traffic over to your website, you might think that this is the best practice would be through SEO because, it pretty much ends up being free advertising for your business. Unfortunately, the downside to this is it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You guys actually have to invest a lot of time and effort in selecting the right keywords, growing your backlinks, updating your content, and even more. So, even if you do follow the SEO guidelines to a T, it's not likely to get you to the first ranking position on Google. Let's say if you do end up making it to the first page of Google on a highly desired keyword, one of the downfalls is that, Google does a lot of updates. And suddenly, you guys could be making a lot of money on the first page, but if they release a new update and suddenly you guys drop down to page rank number 5, on the 5th page of Google, not as many visitors are going to be accessing your offer. So your guys' revenue is going to take a major toll if something like that occurs.
Yeah, and the major search companies, especially like Google, they make changes to their algorithm a couple times a year, a few times a quarter. You don't have the typical risks associated with SEO that you normally would because it's pretty genuine traffic. It's organic. You're not really buying the traffic. It's all geared off the content on your site. So you don't really have to worry too much about those about fraud happening through SEO. But again, overnight your revenue can take 50% decreases or more. So it's just something that we wanted to point out. It's something that you have to stay on top of. You always have to create genuine content. You have to build your backlinks. There's a lot of things you have to do to stay on top of it. And again, following best practices and guidelines are definitely going to help. So just make sure that you stay on top of SEO if that's what you're going to be. If that's how you're going to be driving traffic through to your site.
So if you guys decide to use PPC, known as pay-per-click advertising, this is usually when another website or search engine will run your ad, but they charge you every time somebody clicks on that ad. Typically the way it works is that you'll prepay, and then when your balance is down to 0, your ad is removed. Some of the problems that have been found to be associated with this method is that a lot of click fraud occurs. And when that happens, it's going to just eat through your advertising budget. So, there's even cases where we've seen that your competitors will actually go to Google, type in some keywords, they'll see your ad come up, and, they don't want you on there. So what they'll do is they'll click so many times to where it eats up your advertising budget, so that way their ad now gets placed as the #1 space over there. So that could be a problem as well. And a lot of times, unfortunately, click fraud will go unnoticed, especially in small cases. Sometimes even, a website owner might publish your ad and then just click on it themselves to try to generate some revenue. hackers have been, even known to utilize Trojans and infect computers. So that way, it will generate click fraud for their benefit.
Yeah, it's something that happens. It's not as prevalent as it used to be. I think that most of the major PPC companies, especially Google and some of the other bigger ones out there, they've built their systems to monitor it, a little bit, but really it all comes down to you and how you monitor the success of your PPC campaign. So you need to be tracking the success of each keyword. If there's a keyword that's not working for you, you need to drop that keyword, because all you're doing is wasting your advertising budget on clicks that aren't actually generating sales or backing out to a CPA that you would actually that would be nominal for you to pay. So PPC all comes down to monitoring as well.
Now this slide here is just to add a little bit of humor, but we're going to really talk about CPA, CPS, and co-reg. With CPA, basically, you are paying anytime a user takes some sort of action on your website, whether it be signing up for your newsletter or, logging into your service. So that's how calls per action work. With CPS, that's calls per sale, and this is usually where the end user or consumer is purchasing something from your website, and typically you're sending them some sort of physical product. And then with co-reg, the user actually never visits your site originally. They're simply opting in to your newsletter or website through another registration path, at which point the lead details are forwarded over to you, and then it's your responsibility to convert that into a customer. So, with these various methods, you guys are actually going to have the most control over minimizing fraud, because they're actually coming into your website or into your landing form where you're the gatekeeper of that lead, and you can make your own lead form as secure as you want to make it.
Yeah, and with CPA, again, you're the gatekeeper of your form. You control the flow of your user. You control when to fire pixels. You really do have the most control. But this is also where most of the fraud happens. Unfortunately, there's a lot of incentive for affiliates to generate fraudulent leads. Try to rack up the bill a little bit and then get out and hope that you pay them for those leads. It happens all the time. I used to see it every day. I used to hear about it every day. It does happen all the time. But as we get further along into our conversation here, we're going to talk a little bit more about measuring and monitoring, and that's where we're really going to show you guys, or at least explain, how to how to minimize that risk the best.
So we're going to move on to kind of talk about display advertising. That's when, it's either text, images, logos, usually known as banner ads that have been placed on websites. Like you can see here in this image, okay, there's a Macy banner here, there's another banner down here. And when you have this type of advertising in place, it's usually pay per impression, which means how many people get the opportunity to see your banner ad. Unfortunately, there is a handful of scammers out there who are going to actually take that banner ad and publish it on their website, but then they're going to tell you that they're showing it to thousands of viewers. However, they only end up showing your ad to a fraction of that many. And what a lot of these scammers do is they actually dumb your banner ad down to a 1-by-1 pixel iframe and display your banner that way. So it's counting as if everybody's seeing it, but to the human eye, nobody's really seeing your message at all. And if no human seeing that banner, then your ad has no value, and it's just eating up costs and resources.
Yep, and again, it all comes down to measuring the success of your CPM campaign. So if you're generating a lot of views, but you're not getting a lot of click-through, you're not getting a lot of interaction, you're not seeing the user count going up on your end, so people aren't actually clicking on the banner ad, it's something that you're going to need to investigate. So, it's all about how you track the success of the campaign, of the CPM campaign or the display campaign.
So with those various, media buying methods we had talked about so far, you guys might now realize, a lot of things that you should be aware of. But now we're going to talk a little bit about content marketing. You know, content marketing is the creation of white papers, case studies, tweets, Pinterest, blogs, infographics, anything that you're publishing online. And actually, the good news over here is this is one of the best forms of marketing that you can do because it's a minimal cost and the risks are next to none. You really just have to invest some time on creating quality content and getting it to the right target audience. You know, one suggestion we can throw at you over here is, as a rule of thumb, you should always keep an eye on what your competitors are doing. You want to see what kind of content that they're pushing out and just stay ahead of the trends, as well as be aware of any maybe possible negative information that's also being published about you or your company. That way you can kind of avoid that. The goal really is kind of, you know, the hope that your content becomes viral, so friends share it with friends and friends and friends, so you guys will get a lot of business that way.
Yeah, and you know, with content marketing, the one key to that, you know, I'm not going to talk about risk here, but I'm just going to talk about a general rule of thumb. You want to make sure that you're updating your content frequently. If you're going to have a blog and you're going to write blog articles, you need to make sure that you're posting new articles, you know, bi-weekly or at least once a month. You know, if you're going to spend the time to have a blog, make sure it's updated, because users that go to a blog and see that it hasn't been updated in 6 months, 8 months, or a year, they don't take a lot of, they're going to think you aren't updating your product. They're going to think you don't really care about your product or service because you're not writing about it. So if you're going to spend the time to have a blog, make sure that you spend the time to update it as well.
Yeah, and that's a very good tip also.
Same thing with tweets too. If you're going to link to tweets on your website, you know, just make sure that you're tweeting, you know, fairly regularly.
You know, and with email marketing, you know, it's a great way to actually drive traffic into your website. But there are a lot of also risks involved with that as well. For example, your messages are not going to be valuable if they're not actually getting delivered to your recipients. And some of the problems that are associated with that could be poor content, uninterested users, age data, and that's going to lead to low open rates, you know, and if you're not compliant, that's going to create more problems for you as well. And we're going to talk more in depth about each of those later in the webinar today. But yeah, in general, you know, most methods of driving traffic to your offer or website, it's going to run some fairly large risks. So again, we're going to just stress the fact of how important it is to monitor everything very closely so you don't fall victim to fraud.
Yeah, and with email marketing, it works on two ways, right? So you can either have publishers driving traffic into you through their email list, or you could be doing email marketing yourself. Maybe you're buying data, or you have a list that you're remarketing to. If you maybe own an e-commerce store. So if you're having publishers driving traffic into your website through email, you know, one of the biggest risks, and this has to do with both you know, fraud, and it also has to do with compliance, is you know, if they're driving traffic into you, I've seen a lot of cases where they aren't using the correct creatives, or they're misbranding your product or service to where, you know, they're making the user, you know, let's say just for instance, let's say you're a bank and you have a credit card offer to get somebody to sign up for a credit card. Well, you know, an email affiliate may take a creative from a bigger bank, like let's say a Chase Bank or you know, some other larger corporation, and email that out to their users and make them think that, oh, this is, you know, this is Chase Bank, I want to sign up for their credit card. And then what they end up doing is they pass that user over to your website. So it's, you know, it's misleading to the user, and it can actually, you know, number one, get that affiliate in big trouble, but number two, it can also come back onto you as well. So, you know, you need to monitor your email affiliates very strong and make sure that they're only using approved creatives and subject lines. And then, you know, if you're doing email marketing as well, you know, you need to make sure that your content and your emails are good, they're useful. It's something that the customer is going to want to see. You know, you're not going to want to raise your complaint rate. You're not going to want to, you know, get a lot of unsubscribes. So you got to make sure that the content is genuine and that it's something the user is going to be interested in.
Yeah, it's all about engaging with your customers to really grow your brand. So now another thing that we're going to touch on here is malware. I'm sure at one case or another, everybody's experienced, malware on their own personal computer or had major computer problems where it was malware that had messed something up. So malware basically is a malicious software that's used to disrupt your computer operation or possibly gain information and access to your personal details. A lot of times malware gets into your computer through downloading something, but if you ask most end users, how do you think you got this on your computer, they have no idea how it got in. And the reason that is because malware creators are really sneaky. They are creating what appears to be a legitimate piece of software, but it has this malware attached to it. So the user often never feels like they downloaded something shady. A lot of times what these malware creators actually do is they go out and they'll make like what they call an antivirus software. So an unsuspecting end user thinks they're downloading some sort of antivirus software, and they go and install it, and then what happens is it actually puts the malware on their computer and then tells that end user, hey, if you want us to get rid of this malware, it's going to cost you like $50 or $100. So, you got to be really careful, that this doesn't pose a problem for you, because they could even be, running some kind of ad to try to get people to download and install it and incentivize it that way. So.
Right, and I've even seen them use run ads in their malware, banner ads, and obviously if you, if you have your offer up at a network and you have approved, you have approved traffic sources, I'm sure malware is not going to be one of those approved traffic sources. And, unfortunately, it's really hard to find that kind of a traffic source because there's no referring URLs. There's no really real way to tie it back to that malware. And, the other thing I've seen malware do is hijack links. So, let's say this user has malware on their computer and you send them out your marketing message with an affiliate link in there. What I've seen them do is actually hijack the link and use their own affiliate links to send the user either to a same offer, a similar offer, or a different offer. But at the end of the day, they're stealing your commission because that user clicked on your link and you're not actually ending up getting the actual commission for it. So there's you got to be aware of that too. That it's out there. Again, it's very hard to find, but it's just one of the everyday risks.
Yeah, so definitely watch out for that. Another common problem would be something called search hijacking as well, and that's when a user pulls up Google, they type in something they want to search for, and an unrelated set of search results come back, and within that maybe your company's link or your offer's link might be in this search, so the user didn't even want to search for anything related, and now what's happening is they're clicking on those links on Google or the paid advertisement that you're paying for. And so these generate a lot of unintentional clicks, users who really don't want to be on your page, and that can create a high bounce rate for your actual landing page. So sometimes you might wonder, why are users coming over and then just leaving within 2 seconds? Because it's not really what they intended to land on. So now, as we've been talking all throughout this presentation about how important it is to measure and monitor the leads that are coming into your website, we suggest that you never buy blindly. So you need to always be measuring the performance of those leads. Don't just assume that whoever you're working with is a good source, maybe because somebody else you recommend or somebody else you trust recommended you to, partner with somebody that or even if you've been doing business with a certain affiliate for a long time, that doesn't always mean that it's always going to be great. You always have to monitor it. You never know when that sweet deal is going to turn sour, so you just really have to be careful. Trust is definitely something you should gain in business, but even when you have trust established, you do have to monitor it. I've just seen too many clients where you become comfortable with, and you let your guard down, and then that's when fraud's going to occur at a larger scale. Once you actually start monitoring your data closely and you go ahead and confront your network about an affiliate, about the quality of the leads, they're going to actually take you more seriously, and no, they're not going to be able to take advantage of you as they might be doing with others. So if you're on top of what you have going on, you're going to be more safe. So to continue about measuring and monitoring, first we're going to go over, some of the steps that you should do is to identify the sender. Make sure you're able to identify which sources are sending you leads. This is important to know so you can know if you want to continue doing business with that data supplier or kick them to the curb.
And now this is actually the most important part, is identifying the sender. So I know when I used to do media buying, I could identify not only the sender but also the sub ID, and I could track it down, and I could tell you how much each lead was making me by sub ID and by sender. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're working with a network. Well, that network's going to have publishers. So not only could I break it down by the network, but then I could also break it down by each individual publisher and say, okay, how much is each publisher making me at the end of the day? And what I was able to do is, if you lump all your traffic if you lump all your traffic into kind of like one source, especially if it's a network, overall it might end up looking good. But if you have the ability to break it down by source, you're able to know, how much each one of their publishers is making you at the end of the day. Because you could have one publisher that's making you, a lot of money, but then you could have two publishers that you're actually losing money on because you're buying leads and they aren't generating any revenue for you on your back end. So overall, it's going to look up like you're positive because of that one good publisher, but you could actually be further into the positive by kicking off those other two publishers that you're actually losing money on by spending leads on, and they're not converting for you. This also holds true on PPC campaigns. So if you're buying traffic on keywords, you need to measure the performance of each keyword on your back end and the engagement or revenue that it's making you. Because, again, you could be spending money on some keywords that are doing very well, and you could be spending money on other keywords that are not doing good at all. And you're actually losing money on because you're spending money on clicks but not getting any revenue off the back end. So, you need to monitor and measure that. You have to have that sort of reporting in your back end if you want to be successful and you want to be able to reduce, your risk as much as possible. On my back end, I could tell you within about an hour if your traffic was going to back out from me, and if it wasn't going to back out from me, I'd ask you to pause the traffic. This not only helps. This not only makes you look better to the network because you don't have to return thousands of leads later at the end of the month. You're actually returning. You're actually stopping the publisher before it gets bad, and instead of returning thousands of leads, you might only be returning 20, 50, or 100 leads if it was determined as fraud. No network wants to have a huge amount of chargebacks at the end of the month from your campaign. It doesn't look good at all.
Another suggestion is to be aware of sudden increases of traffic. So, try to keep your amount of traffic coming into your website consistent. If you're working with new suppliers, gradually increase the traffic over time. This way, you're going to be able to easily identify spikes. So if more data is just suddenly coming in and it's unexpected, this would definitely be a red flag for you, and you can begin investigation. It's also a good idea to actually log the time and date that these traffic fluctuation occurs so you have more details to go off of.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tools out there that will help you do this. There's a lot of analytics tools, but if you're, I feel like most people, you probably have heard of or are currently using Google Analytics, and that's really the best way to determine if you're getting spikes of increases in traffic. They tell you how much traffic you're getting by day, and so and they actually also break it down by source for you. So, even if it's not coming in through affiliate traffic, it might be coming in through some other way. You're actually able to tie it back to the source that it's coming in. For instance, I had one of my sites that I was managing. I actually had somebody wrote a post on the New York Times, and it had my link in there, and it linked directly back to my site. They were talking about some of the things that my site was involved in, and so I had a huge increase in traffic for about 4 days. I would have had no clue where it was coming from if I didn't know that, if I wasn't able to look at my analytics tool and say, holy cow, where's all this traffic coming from? And I was able to determine that it was actually coming from the New York Times. It's all, it's just something, it didn't negatively affect me, but it was something that, I was aware of. So that way, if it was something that would have negatively affected me, I would have been able to stop it right away.
Yeah, and Rob brings up a good point with that, and that is a free tool, so I definitely suggest you take advantage if you're not currently utilizing that. Another thing that's very important is to log the IP address of your website visitors, and this is going to definitely help you learn a little bit more about who your visitors are. So when you guys have the IP information, it's going to help you know the geographical details of your visitors. So you can also check the IP address against any known proxies or other malicious IP addresses to help you better identify if you're becoming a victim of fraud before it gets out of control.
Yeah, and with this, I would also recommend you limit the amount of new registrations per IP every single day. When I was doing media buying, I usually limited it to about two to three registrations per day per IP. I mean, there are instances where you'll have two friends sitting at Starbucks, and one will go to your website and they'll look at the other friend and say, hey, go check this out. Starbucks, if they're sitting there on their free Wi-Fi, they're going to share the same IP. So there are instances where you will have users that will come in from the same IP, but you want to limit it to a set amount so that way you don't get flooded with fraud from all the same IP.
And how do you know, if you're getting legitimate contact credentials? I mean, any kind of information could be pouring into your lead capture form, and you wouldn't know if it's real legitimate information unless you actually tried to reach out to that end user. And if they are providing you with bogus information, it's not good because you're not going to be able to market to them. We actually would like to suggest that you guys should put a real-time data verification service into your own landing page or web form, such as Xverify, to instantly kick out bad leads. So this way, it's also going to save you on your lead buying expenses as well. And we're just going to show you a brief demonstration of how exactly this works, so you can get an idea of how it can perform on your own lead generation form. So over here, you guys can actually see a live demonstration of how real-time data verification works. And what we offer is a simple JavaScript which can easily implement right onto your own landing page within a matter of minutes. So if I'm on a landing form like this and I'm filling out, my email address such as this, what Xverify actually does is it goes out instantly to check with Yahoo to see if this username or email handle actually exists and is registered with them. Unfortunately, I provided a bogus email address here, so immediately it tells your end user, hey, this email address is not valid. So let's say a lot of times users are filling out forms very quickly, they make a typo. If that's the case, they now see that, oh, yeah, you know what, I did make a mistake over there. And they have the opportunity to come back and actually correct that information. And as long as it's a good, valid email address, it will allow it to go through, so that way your user can continue with your registration path.
Yeah, and, here's the other thing. Not every lead that comes in with bad information is a fraud lead. I think that a lot of people use the word fraud very loose. What we've seen is between 8 to 12% of all lead data that comes in actually has typos in it. So it's not a malicious user. It's not fraud. It's not anything bad going on. It was just the user sending through a typo. So not only is validating your data in real time going to help you with fraud from getting bad leads, but it's also going to help you convert on customers that you may have lost just because of typos. So if you put in an email address that's not right because you accidentally put in an extra 2 before you put the @ in, you have no way to market to that user. You have no way to send an email to that user because it's just going to end up in a bounce. And you wasted money on that lead because you didn't verify the data in real time.
Exactly. And as we kept kind of stressing on how important it is to measure and monitor, we also offer a nice user-friendly dashboard over here where you guys would be able to kind of get a holistic view of the leads that came into your website for the day. So for this particular website over here in this customer, you can see over 3,000 valid leads had came through the system. And then they have, they're showing 206 invalid leads. That's real-time counts across the board. Alongside, we also have built-in fraud blocking features that our system offers as well. And then, another great tool that we have is something called affiliate statistics. So let's say you guys are having your landing page, your buying sources, you're buying traffic from several different sources, and you want to know how each of those sources are performing for you. So we have a unique identifier in which you can pass to us to kind of give you a breakdown of what each of those affiliates are doing. So as you can see here, this particular client has already optimized their website for the best traffic sources. So you can see this invalid % ratio. Everything is less than 10%. Now, if it goes into 20 or 25%, that's a definite red flag that you may be experiencing some kind of fraud. And if that is the case, you guys can always have the opportunity to block it right from our own dashboard over here, so you don't accept any more leads from that particular affiliate until you can actually talk them and work something out. And then going back to our presentation over here, another thing that we want to cover to help monitor for fraud is activity level. What are your users doing? After you've sent an email, are they doing anything at all? Are they even getting to your website? Are they opening? Are they clicking any of the emails that you send? That's another thing that you have to monitor for as well. So what we'd suggest is you keep a log of all of this, and then you calculate the % of inactive users for each affiliate. So like when a particular affiliate is getting out of control, you can immediately drop them off so you're not wasting a lot of time and effort and money into working with an affiliate who's not converting for you. So we're going to talk about email marketing issues. Every mailer out there faces some sort of email marketing issue on a daily basis. However, to be successful, you must follow best practices religiously. We're going to kind of take a look at some of the major meltdowns that each emailer has to deal with. Number one being deliverability. So again, like we said, think about it. What is the value of your message if it's not getting delivered to the recipient? So with X-Verify, our goal is really to help you reach the inbox. That way your message can be read and your revenues can be increased. A lot of times, clients of ours are currently facing problems before they come to us where a lot of their email messages are getting stuck in the spam folder. And users are not clicking into their spam folder to read the mail. They're just reading what's right up front there in their inbox. As we previously spoke about the importance of measuring and monitoring, it is important for you to do the same to know if your emails are getting to the inbox or if they're getting stuck in the spam folder. Sending frequency. If you're sending too much, you're going to annoy your users, which will result in unsubscribes and complaints, which are ultimately going to impact your ability to deliver. But if you're not sending enough, you're going to miss opportunities for sales. So you really have to kind of test and find a middle ground which works best for you and your business. Again, knowing more about your users is kind of key to helping you segment your emails so that you can target the right campaigns to the right people, because one-size email, emailing is just not a one-size-fit-all. And if you're facing a problem with no user interaction, if you're monitoring, what your email campaigns are doing, and you're not getting very many clicks or opens, you need to make sure that you're sending relevant content to active email accounts. Again, one of the major issues you could be facing is that your emails are not hitting the inbox and they're going to the junk folder. If you have done a lot of testing and you realize that your emails are hitting the spam folder, don't worry, it is possible to regain control and improve your IP reputation. But just like SEO, it's not going to be something that happens overnight. But if you do put the effort in, you will reach the desired deliverability levels that you want to achieve, and you will be able to engage more with your users, resulting in more revenue. Also consider mobile when sending out your email campaigns. According to statistics, 41% of emails are viewed via mobile devices. So, if you don't have a nice, template for mobile, you are missing out on the opportunity to market, to these types of users. And when you do build a template for mobile, make sure you're using large buttons and fonts for small screens. So another big issue is unsubscribes and spam complaints. If too many people are unsubscribing, you do need to understand why. Some of the suggestions that we can give here is that you should poll your end users and to find out why they are unsubscribing. Was it because they felt that the emails you were sending were not relevant? Were you sending too many? Are they just no longer interested? It's also a best practice to ask the user to change their email preferences by giving them the option to only receive specific types of offers or only get emailed once a week rather than daily. So this way, you could save a couple of users without having them, completely unsubscribe from your list. So it's going to give you an opportunity to do more business if you're, if you are getting users who are clicking spam and generating complaints. It's only going to negatively impact your sender's reputation. So immediately, unsubscribe these users who are complaining from all future mailings that you're doing, because you don't want them to generate more complaints on you. Valuable content. So content is key when you're sending out an email campaign. A lot of times emails do get stuck in the spam box because of spam-like keywords. If your content is not relevant to your users, they're not likely to read your mail. So the more you know about your users, the better you're going to be able to generate unique quality content to them. And the best piece of advice we can give is to really segment your list and target to customers who are most likely interested in what you have to say or offer. Just to give another example here, let's say if you're a department store, it just doesn't make sense for you to send some kind of cosmetic or makeup ad to a man unless that person has expressed some kind of interest in cosmetics. It may take more time to drill into each of these campaigns, which ones you want to send to which recipient, but it is going to result in better performance, and you'll be working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, and just really quick, I would definitely say, valuable content is really what it all comes down to, and segmenting as well. The more you can segment your data, the more you're going to be able to make that valuable content. You may send out different emails to women that you would to men. So, you can segment by that. You can segment by age. You can segment on what they purchased before. That's definitely really one big piece, because what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to create or to engage with the user. And nowadays, that's what the email providers are looking for. They're looking for engagement rates. It's no longer just send as many emails as you can and keep a low complaint rate. Today, less really is more today. But you have to engage your users. So, it's not about sending to 1 million users. If you can send to 250,000 users and keep the engagement rate higher, that's going to actually help you with the inbox a lot more than just the volume is going to help you.
And then anytime that you are sending out a campaign, make sure that it's capable to be shareable. So make sure that you're placing, Facebook, Twitter, email to a friend, forward, things like that. Because if you give your users an opportunity to share, it's likely it's going to give you a chance to gain more sales. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more on email deliverability. Do you know where your deliverability currently stands? And what causes the deliverability issues? It's generally your IP reputation. 83% of the time, it's due to your sender score that you're getting stuck in the spam folder. If the majority of your users are in the B2C business, of like 80% or more of your emails that you're sending out are going to freebie accounts like AOL, Yahoo, Gmail. A good way to test this is to actually just create freebie email accounts yourself on each of these services and send out an email campaign, and then check each one of those inboxes to make sure that your email is reaching the inbox and not getting stuck in the spam folder. So that's a good way to kind of measure your current performance. Have you ever really thought about how does Gmail know? How do they know to place certain emails into the junk folder that you never requested to go there? Well, that really boils down to what is your IP reputation, and that's also known as your sender score. And this can kind of be, looked at similar to a credit score that the major email service providers look at to determine if your message is going to be worthy for the recipients to get it. If you guys make one wrong move, such as too many hard-bounced emails or sending to spam traps, it can knock your reputation way down, but it takes a lot of time and effort to build it all back up.
Yeah, and it's your score, and your score is a major part of it, but then it's also your what's made up of that score is going to be your complaint rates, it's going to be your bounce rate, it's going to be your sending infrastructure, making sure you have all the right keys in place. So there's many things that are going to make up your sender score, and again, it really all boils down to engagement. It boils down to if somebody complains, unsubscribe them right away. There's no reason to send them another message, because if they complain again, it's going to keep bringing your complaint rate up, and it's going to adversely impact your sender reputation. And too many times we have people come to us that are that get hurt after the fact, and their bounce rates were through the roof, their complaint rates were through the roof, and we have to kind of consult them and help them. Again, it is possible to get their complaint rates back. It's possible to help get their IP reputation back up to where it needs to be at, but it's a tough and hard road to do. But we do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because we get a lot of clients that come over to us after the damage has already been done, and we work with them step by step to help get them back up and running. So now what we're going to go ahead and touch on is kind of talk a little bit about compliance. If you're going to be sending out email messages, you must follow the CAN-SPAM guidelines. If you're not familiar with those guidelines, here's definitely some do not. Do not use misleading header information such as a fake from company name or a reply to name of a different company than yours. And don't use deceptive subject lines. So you want to keep it relevant, and as long as it's relevant, it's going to generate more opens and clicks, and you're going to be doing it following best practices. Some of the things that you also must do is identify if it is an ad. So you must have that, there's a little emblem you should put on there to say that this is an advertisement. And you also have to provide some sort of physical mailing address in your campaign, even if it's just a P.O. box you want to place out there. Make sure you're also giving your users an option of removing themselves from your mailing list, so some kind of unsubscribe or opt-out. And you really have to honor those opt-outs within 10 business days. And no, you can't charge a fee to ask your user to opt out of your mailing list.
I didn't even know that.
Of course, people probably tried everything.
All right.
And kind of just to close out this webinar, I just want to hit on some of the primary points that you should take back to the office with you to boost your success. You really want to choose your media buying carefully and measure the performance of it. And whichever way you are acquiring leads, do validate them at the point of entry so you can reduce your lead buying expenses by contesting invalid leads in real time. Even if you've worked with a particular source for an extensive period, please continue to monitor them rigorously. We do recommend also that you mail only to opted-in users, as you're going to they're going to actually be more interested in your products and services that you have to offer. And stay in compliance. Follow the CAN-SPAM guidelines that we covered today, and you really should be golden.
Yeah, and really the biggest takeaway that I could tell everybody to follow is make sure that you're monitoring your traffic by source. That's the only way you're going to know how your media buying is making you money. You have to look at it by source. You have to break it down. Not only you can't go at a very high level, you got to go into a very low level. So you got to know what each lead, what each publisher, what each wherever you're buying traffic from, what keyword it is, which display network it is. Everything needs to be monitored by source.
And we really appreciate all of you for going through the entire webinar with us today. If you are interested in any of the services that we offer, feel free to check out XVerify. We do offer free trials with our services. And
anybody that stuck through us with the whole webinar today, we're gonna if you say that you were in this webinar today, we're gonna go ahead and offer you a 50% discount off your first month's bill. So.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for taking the time out of their day to kind of learn a little bit more about fraud and learning some of the ways that you can avoid your risks.
I guess now we open it up to questions on the floor or on the
Yep, absolutely.
on the phone
Thank
floor.
you guys. That was yeah, the phone floor. That was really informative. I really appreciate you taking the time to put that together for all of us. I would like to invite everybody to ask any questions if you have any of them. And it looks like you two did such a fabulous job covering everything. I don't really have any.
That's good. No, and you know what, Jennifer? Let me ask you: are you going to provide any of our information along with the with the webinar details? If anybody does have any questions, I mean, if they don't want to ask them now, or if they think of them later, I'd be happy to answer any questions at any time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You want to give everybody your email address?
Yeah, sure, I can do that now. My email address is rob, R-O-B, .huey, H-U-E, as in Edward, Y, at xverify.com.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Rob. And again, if you folks don't have any questions now, you can definitely get in touch with Rob or Krista.